Hi, my name is Raquel. I am a queer Latinx illustrator from Malverne, New York, and my company, my illustration studio and online shop is called Máquina 37. So today I wanted to share with you a story. It's a really important story for me, and it brings up a lot of emotions, so just bear with me. So when I came to Malverne, when my wife and I purchased a home here, I immediately was like, I'm a homeowner. I want to get involved in my community. I want my community to know who I am and what my business is and what services I offer. So I joined the Malverne Chamber of Commerce. I decided to participate in one of the events, which was, it was called Play in the Park. So Play in the Park was supposed to be, a play for kids put on in the park. And so all the businesses were invited to be there with a table. You can sell products there, you can promote your business there, you can give out free promotional materials, you name it. So that day, rain was in the forecast. So the Malverne Chamber of Commerce scrambled around and asked people who has a space that we can use for a night. So they asked Pastor David from Grace Lutheran Church and School. They have a gym with a stage and plenty of space for the kids to come and sit down with their parents and enjoy the play, and also space for all the vendors with their tables in the back. The night before, my wife saw me packing all of my merchandise. I had free stickers that I had have to give away to the kids that were pirate themed. The play was about pirates, so I illustrated specific stickers for them, but I also had my coloring books, my t-shirts, my cards, my wrapping paper. I had all this other stuff ready for the event as well. And she asked me, she was like, are you gonna take your gay merchandise? I was like, okay. And I said yes. And I understood what she meant, because I still didn't know. I still am very new to Malverne, and so I didn't know how people were going to receive my products. And I was also going into a church, so I didn't know what was gonna happen. I just kind of took a deep breath. I was like, well, there are a lot of gay-owned businesses in the Malverne Chamber of Commerce, and so one of those gays should have warned me ahead of time if I was, I don't know, if I was heading into danger or heading into a situation that would make me feel very uncomfortable and not safe. So I was like, well, I didn't get that warning, so I'm just taking all my stuff with me. And I just kind of naively went with my stuff, and this is one of my products. So it says LGBTQIA+ for kids. It's about LGBTQ terms for kids, and I explain it in a very cute, kid-friendly way. So I had that book front and center, and then everything is set up. The play was super cute. The kids really appreciated the stickers that I was giving out. And then Pastor David from Grace Lutheran Church comes up to me, and I didn't know him at the time. So my heart kind of leaps into my throat. Is this it? Is this going to be am I going to have to pack up all my gay stuff and get out of this church? Is this going to be a humiliating experience for me. Like, I had all sorts of fear running all through my body. And he pointed to the book and he said, "We need more of that. That is awesome." And he invited me to church. So I was like, what just happened? After like all that adrenaline, you know, that you have, like when you're afraid that something's gonna happen and you're met with something completely different, it's kind of like disorienting. Like, whoa, what just happened? So I went home, and I think it took me about 3 weeks to get to church. But I went. I was super curious about what I was going to find at church. And so I sat there, I went through the Mass, and we were getting ready to do the communion. And right there, when the pastor was like, right before he got the communion wafers and like the grape juice ready for communion, he introduced me to the church. He introduced he told everyone how he met me. And at the end of his lovely introduction, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my goodness, please don't out me, please don't out me. He said, "You and your wife are welcome at this church anytime." And I was like taken back by that. I was like, my initial thought was, yes, he outed me to the church, but he outed me in this like very respectful way. Like, if I were straight and if I had a husband, it would have been, "You and your husband are welcome at this church anytime." So it was just really kind. And so I was struck by that. And then they were handing out communion. So everybody lined up to receive communion. It was about the end of the line, and I was sitting next to Kim, the pastor's wife, and she said to me, go and get communion. And I said, and the words that were gonna come out of my mouth were, I didn't grow up Catholic, I don't know what I'm doing. Do I have to do confession like before I take communion? Are there rules that I'm not getting here? And she was like, before those words even came out of my mouth, she was like, no, go up and get communion. Everyone is welcome. It's an open table. And I was like, okay. So I went up, I got communion, and I sat back down. And as we left, the pastor said, "Everyone is welcome at the table of God." So, I came back, got my coat, and the pastor's wife said, "How did you like the service?" I was like, just more than like the tears, like I'm getting teary-eyed right now. But at that moment, it was like, "Ooh." And I said, "So happy." Like, I don't know if you even understood how happy I was over all the tears. She wanted me to know that like my tears weren't a strange thing or something to be ashamed of. Like, then she ran around trying to get me a tissue that we couldn't find for a while. And it was just so endearing, so welcoming. So I went home and I told my wife about what just happened. And then I was like, wait a minute. That is the first time our marriage has been acknowledged at church. And I thought back to all the times at church where, if I was sitting next to my wife, I didn't feel comfortable reaching over to my wife and holding her hand and maybe exchanging a glance that said, "That was so moving. I love you." For fear of somebody being completely disgusted by that. And we talked about it and we were like, yeah, it's just little subtle things that we don't do out of fear. So it was just wonderful to be welcomed into a community and feel a part of a community and feel like I could be completely myself and still worship God, and still, I think to be a full person, you need a sense of community. You need a sense of tradition in your life. And it was just a really moving moment. So, so fast forward, I was coming to church for a while and the pastor comes up to me again. I'm like, "Hey, hi." Now I know I'm safe and I'm, nothing's going to happen to me. But the pastor comes over and he says, "Raquel, I was wondering if you can help me make the church a more inclusive place." And my first reaction was, oh my goodness, I just created a coloring book with basically vocab terms with pictures in a way that kids could understand. But I am not an expert about inclusivity, and I'm not an expert. I just started coming to church. I just started figuring out that I could take communion here. So, it was just, I was like, no. I've had a lot of really ugly experiences when it comes just for being who I am. So I asked myself the question, who am I to keep this joy from other people? And if Pastor David was brave enough to do what he did, then maybe I could be brave enough to embark on this journey, learn more about creating a more inclusive environment, and just because if to become an expert, you have to study. So no, I wasn't an expert yet, but I could maybe be that person and we could build something together. And so, so that is what I'm doing now. I had no idea that I would find myself here, but it has been such a rewarding experience for me. So Pastor David has been helping me. He's been giving me a lot of books. He recommended that I read Queer Theologies, and from Queer Theologies, I've been reading, I purchased this book just the other day, the Queer Bible Commentary. And today at church, he gave me what the Bible says about homosexuality. So I'm also taking a training soon about how to make the church more inclusive. The program is called Reconciling with Christ. Reconciling Works is the training, and it basically teaches you and leads you, helps you create a plan to make your place of worship more inclusive. So, wow. Yeah. So this story has like nothing to do with, well, because I was so open about my identity through my business, because I felt that it was so important to give kids a little bit of vocabulary, so like if they could identify how they're feeling as they're growing up. I was led to this place, and I'm really just thrilled about this opportunity. And that's what I'm sharing with you, because if you're going to purchase my merchandise, if you're going to, commission like an illustration from me, I think it's a good idea that you know who I am, what I stand for, and what I do when I'm not making art. So yeah, that took a lot for me to share and open up about. So be kind in the comments, please. Yeah, and I guess another thing that I learned in this journey is that if you want to make change in the world, you have to be brave. And being brave is showing up and being yourself. And that takes a lot. Takes a lot of courage. So I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, and thank you for listening to my story. Bye.